We all use the cloud pretty much every single day, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder where our digital world, all our apps, our photos, our data actually lives? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the massive invisible cities that power everything you do online. Let's dive in. And that's a really good question. The term cloud makes it sound so abstract, like it's all just floating around up there in the sky. But the reality? It's way more concrete and honestly, a lot more interesting. This isn't magic. It's an incredible feat of global engineering. And that entire engineering marvel really boils down to three core ideas: regions, availability zones, and region pairs. We're going to unpack each one in this explainer, so by the end, you'll get exactly how the cloud stays up and running, no matter what. All right, so let's start with the biggest piece of the puzzle. We're zooming in from that global view to our first stop, the region. And a good way to think about this is as our digital city. So what is a region? Well, it's just a specific spot on the map, like East US or West Europe, where a huge cluster of data centers is built. For example, when we talk about the South India region, we're talking about physical data centers located in and around the Chennai area. To really make this stick, let's use an analogy. I want you to picture an entire Azure region as a big, bustling city. Just like a real city is packed with buildings, offices, and infrastructure, an Azure region is a collection of massive data center buildings all concentrated in one geographic area. This is our digital city. Okay, so we've established our digital city. Now let's zoom in a little closer. What's actually inside it? Well, that brings us to the next level of detail: availability zones. Now the keyword here, the most important thing to remember, is independence. An availability zone, or AZ for short, isn't just another server rack in the same building. Oh no, it is a completely separate, physically isolated data center. Each one has its very own power supply, its own cooling systems, and its own network. You can think of them as these totally independent islands of reliability, all within our digital city. Let's go back to that city analogy. Imagine you're running a hospital network. You wouldn't put all of your critical services in one single building, would you? Of course not. You'd have separate branches spread out across the city. That way, if one branch in, say, Tynampet has a power outage, the other branches are totally fine and can keep serving patients. Well, availability zones do exactly that, but for your apps. So let's really play this out. What if disaster strikes one of these zones? Let's say a construction crew accidentally cuts the main power line to the data center in Zone 1. Uh-oh. But because your app is built to be spread across multiple zones, the system automatically and instantly switches all the traffic over to the healthy ones, Zone 2 and Zone 3. And for you, the user, nothing changes. The app just keeps on working. That, right there, is high availability in action. Okay, so that's brilliant. Availability zones protect us from a problem in a single building, or maybe a part of the city. But what happens if the entire city is affected by something really major? For that, we need to zoom back out and talk about the ultimate backup plan: region pairs. And this is the key difference. You need different tools for different kinds of problems, right? A local issue like a fire in one data center, that's handled perfectly by the availability zones within that single region, our city. But for a huge regional disaster, think an earthquake, a flood, something that could impact that whole city, you need a backup in a completely different city. And that is the whole job of a region pair. And Microsoft is incredibly deliberate about how they set these pairs up. They take two regions within the same general geography, like pairing South India in Chennai with Central India in Pune. They make sure they're always at least 300 kilometers apart, so they won't get hit by the same disaster. And get this, software updates are rolled out to one region first and only then to the other. That way a bad update can't take both down at once. And in a true worst-case scenario, one of the two is always prioritized to come back online first. It's a really smart system. All right, let's put it all together in a super simple summary. The region is your main digital city. The availability zone is like having separate, independent hospital branches across that city for local problems. And the region pair, that's your ultimate insurance policy, a complete backup city ready to take over if the first one goes down. This is all really fascinating engineering for sure. But what does it actually mean for us, for businesses, for the apps that we rely on every single day? Let's talk about why all this complex infrastructure is so incredibly important. So why should you care? Well, for any company running on the cloud, this structure is everything. It means their applications have unbelievably high uptime. It means their customers' data is kept safe even if a major disaster hits. It means they can provide faster service by putting their apps physically closer to their users. And maybe most importantly for some, it helps them comply with all sorts of local laws. And this point about compliance? It's a huge deal. Many countries have what are called data residency laws, which basically say that their citizens' data has to physically stay within the country's borders. So for a company in India, being able to choose the South India or Central India regions isn't just a nice technical option. It's a legal requirement. This global network is what makes that possible. So the next time you open an app on your phone and it just works, or you go to access a file and it's just there instantly, take a second, because now you know the secret. Behind that seamless experience is a vast, invisible network of digital cities, local branches, and backup cities, all working together perfectly to make sure your digital world is always on.